but it also says some amazingly insightful things. So we will hear now some readings from different voices in the Bible.
This is from Jeremiah. The word of the Lord came to me, saying, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. And before you were born, I consecrated you. I appointed you a prophet to the nations." Then I said, "Ah, Lord God, truly, I do not know how to speak, for I am only a child." But the Lord said to me, "Do not say, I am only a child, for you shall go to all to whom I send you, and you shall speak whatever I command you."
Please join us as we sing Day by Day.
Jesus, saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Whoever humbles himself like this child, he is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven."
And Paul, our knowledge is imperfect and our prophecy is imperfect. But when the perfect comes, the imperfect will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I gave up childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part. Then I shall understand fully, even as I have been fully understood. So faith, hope, love abide, these three, but the greatest of these is love.
Isaiah tells us, "The wolf will live with the lamb, the leopard will lie down with the goat, the calf and the lion and the yearling together, and the little child will lead them."
Thank you.
feels like just exactly the inspiration to now send us into the next stage of our journey, if these are the rocks upon which we're going to build, and if what God is building is a church that can be a sign of the kingdom. Here we go. Starting with thinking about our earliest days and the deepest foundations of our own personal development. For years and years, people believed that babies were born like blank slates. There was nothing in there. And it was up to parents and teachers and the like, and maybe society around. It does take a village to shovel in everything that needs to go in there and to refine and so forth. In the background, maybe there was a little conversation going, nature versus nurture. So what you inherited, maybe a little something from the family, talent for this, a predisposition for that. But basically, what most people understood was that given the right kind of parenting and good enough teaching, you could send a child down practically any path there was. I don't know if parents always believed that, but that's what scientists believed. And until fairly recently, what scientists believed and taught us was that little children are fundamentally selfish. Now this makes sense. When you enter the world as tiny and fragile and vulnerable as a little teeny person, survival really is your only concern. And you can see how everything is set up. Even the oxytocin that's flooding through mother's veins and hormone stuff, so that she's feeling kindly disposed and compassionate to the infant, no matter how exhausted she and father may become. Between them, they provide what the little person needs. And that is the only thing that the little person cares about. Being born 100% selfish is stage one in our moral development. Very basic. For the purposes of our reflections this Lent, I've given it the name being, because there's pretty much all that there is to it. It's just existing. This is sensing the world purely by what we need or want. But now, psychologists are telling us that this first stage begins giving way to the next one within hours of our birth. Not that it's easy to do research on babies. You can't shove them into MRI machines and analyze the bits of their brains that are lighting up like you might do with older children or with grown-ups. But scientists, you got to give them credit. They always find a way. So, in this case, what they do is they put headphones on babies, set of headphones, little, just hours old. And they stick a pacifier in their mouth with a computer chip in it. And the deal is that by sucking harder or not so hard, the baby is able to control what comes through the headphones. It's either going to be mommy reading the story, or it's going to be some other very friendly but strange voice. And babies from those earliest times, day one, are able to suck harder so that it's mommy's voice that they hear. You do the test over again so that sucking softer makes mommy's voice come and they suck softer. Pretty good, huh? That's pretty good. Within days, you can tell how a child is responding to something by what they do with their eyes. Little babies will look and stare longer at something that's new to them or the thing that they don't expect. Routine sets in pretty early, and the stuff that they're expecting, yeah, that's the way it always is. Even something like cause and effect, if you do this, then that will happen. They notice, but then they're busy looking at something else. But bring in something they haven't seen before, or make the cause and effect thing go wrong so that they're surprised. And even quite small babies will fix their eyes and look and try to figure it out. By the time they're a few months old, they have the ability to reach. That's gold for the scientist, because then you can set up all kinds of scenarios, maybe with puppets. You have the nice puppet who helps everybody else, and then you've got the naughty puppet who grabs other people's toys and runs away with them. And which one does the child reach for? They can choose which one they want after. It's all very predictable, but measurable as well, and gives us a way of seeing into the baby's brain that these are not equal. These puppets are not all the same, and they actually do have the ability to analyze what they're seeing and to form those moral preferences really early. It's added up to a realization, and a growing realization, that we are born ready-made for relationships and for judging and for choosing. The basics are all standard issue. We arrive with them. So the 40-year-old book that I remembered from seminary days that first gave me the idea for this series, I have learned is catastrophically out of date and discredited. It's actually been quite a good week to have a cold, because instead of infecting all of you by coming around visiting and things like that, I've been reading up on some of the more recent literature and finding it absolutely fascinating. Overall, what they say is that we have seriously been underestimating babies, and we have seriously been overestimating grown-ups. There is such a thing as maturity, but we're only now discovering what a massive head start we have from the day that we're born, and how our progress is faster than anybody could expect. So stage 1 is being, just that primal state in which our sole concern is for survival, just one meal to the next. Stage 2, I've called awakening. It's awakening to the fact that other people are real people too. The capacity for interaction and relationship. According to the 40-year-old theory, stage 1 is that unadulterated selfishness, me, myself, and I. Stage 2 is still all about me, but it's got a little bit more nous behind it. In stage 2, I figured out that if I'm sweet and adorable and cuddly, I can usually get what I want. Manipulation, in other words. Add to that the beauty of crying. When all else fails, crying is an excellent way. Now, babies cry, obviously, in stage 1 too. But in stage 2, you can watch them doing it in a more calculated fashion. So stage 2, you could say, is a more sophisticated kind of selfishness. Stage 2 grasps that sometimes it's worthwhile to wait for something, because the something that might come after waiting could be better than what you get straight away. That's sophisticated thinking. Begrudgingly, stage 2 accepts that life sometimes requires effort, and sometimes you have to go through things that are unpleasant, that there might be more than one step in getting from here to there. But stage 1 takes this on, stage 2 begins to take this on board and live accordingly. So now I would like to invite you to listen in on a group of 3 and 4-year-olds. This is an actual transcript of interaction between 3 children who didn't know that anybody was listening.
Green cow. How about if we trade? Here, you can have this one, and I can have the green one, okay?
No, we already did trade. I want this one. I want it now, and you have it already.
Hey, you can both have my spoons if you want. No, how about the green cow?
I'm not trading any of mine.
I'm not trading any of mine. No, I'm not trading any of mine. Well, it's not fair, because I don't have any animals.
Give her one of them.
But you have 3, and she has none, and I have 1. So that's not fair. Yeah, that's not fair. I have none. You know what? If you give me the green one, I'll give her the red one, and then we'll all have one.
Well, if you don't give me the red one, then I won't invite you to my
But I don't have any. Okay. I'll give you this one. And I'll take this one from Mary, and then we'll all have one, okay?
Okay, but can we trade again tomorrow?
Birthday party! Birthday party! Birthday
That is seriously fascinating what just happened. The selfishness is no surprise, right? That's what you would expect. If Gail wants the green cow, then that is reason enough for Mary to say, no, you can't have it. And we've all watched that happen with little kids. I'm not giving her any of mine, Mary says. And the other two, did you hear what they did? They started mocking her. They imitated her. That little sing-songy thing they did. What price, a green cow? Certainly worth a blue one. But Mary wants the red cow. Actually, Mary wants all the cows. If she doesn't get it, nobody's coming to her birthday party. So now we've got an air of threat in the air. And then the compromising begins, all in the name of fairness. It was Elta. That's not fair. That's not fair. We've all heard that one too, right? And lo and behold, the ending is amicable. And these three friends are going to get together again tomorrow and play some more. The psychologist who recorded this and analyzed it in the article I read said that this is not very different from what adults do in their negotiating. He says it just has a little bit more singing in it. So all of this continues to evolve. Take Mary when she's 5 years old. Mary, when she's 5 years old instead of just 3. And play another game with her. Say to her, here's a choice, Mary. Which one would you prefer? There's a 2-cow option. You can have a cow, and Gail will get a cow. But there's a 5-cow option. You can have 2. That's more. But only if Gail can have 3. Any guesses? From 5 years old clear to age 10, kids would rather each have 1 cow than see some other kid have more than they have. Is that kid still inside you someplace? On the other hand, if you were to say to Mary, here's a 5-cow option, you can have 3 if you let Gail have 2, she says, you're on. No problem. That's absolutely fine. Injustice is okay as long as we're on the receiving end of that. Yeah, that's okay. Another way that this encounter could have turned out is that one of these children could have run and tattled to some grown-up. I read that from ages 2 through 6, most of what children verbalize about their siblings is tattling. And they're nearly always telling the truth, because what's at stake is justice. They've just got this huge innate sense of justice, and who's playing by the rules and who's cheating. You don't get anything past them, which I'm sure we've also experienced. But that begins to stray into stage 3, back to babies. As young as 5 months, babies want to see consequences for somebody who isn't being nice. So show them a puppet show where one puppet is nice and shares. I told you this one already. The other puppet takes somebody's toy and runs away. The children not only will want to reach for the nice puppet as the one to be their friend, what pleases them the most is if the naughty puppet gets his or her comeuppance. That naughty puppet is supposed to end up with no toys, and that's what's fair, and children absolutely love it. Put some candy on the table in front of a 1-year-old and say, don't touch, and leave the room. Now, as far as a 1-year-old is concerned, as soon as you have left the room, deal's off. They take the candy, they eat it, and you come back, and nothing has happened. They're absolutely cool. By 16 months, if you come back in the room and you catch that little person eating the candy, 60% of them will look guilty. By 18 months, if you come back in the room and catch them, 100% will look guilty. By age 2, they look right back at you defiantly. They say, mine. and insisted it was their, it's for them to set the rules and never mind you. But what's significant for our purposes this morning is that from really early, babies have the capacity to feel empathy. They will respond, for example, if another child is upset. Charles Darwin observed in his six-month-old son that when Nanny pretended to be crying, the little guy would just get all upset and be really worried about Nanny. By age 1, when he's big enough that he can toddle over, he'll be patting and stroking her to make her feel better. At age 2, he'll bring a crying child to his mommy to be comforted. He hasn't quite got it yet that child has a different mommy and that might be more appropriate. But the comforting thing has started to happen. And if you were to struggle into a room with your arms full of whatever and try to open a closet door and really be having a hard time with this, if there's a toddler in the room, 60% of them will get up and go over to the closet door and try to open it for you. It's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. We've probably all played the game at one time or another of playing copycat with a teeny person, making a face and watching as they make the face back. And from quite young, babies will smile back at you if you smile, stick their tongue out if you stick your tongue out, and make these different faces. Think of what's involved in that. This is a little person who's never analyzed all of this in a mirror. Now, monkeys can do it too. But this is sophisticated programming, somehow innately to know that the muscles that you have are the same as the muscles in the face of that other person doing things. And just to connect, to know what it would feel like to make the expression that the other person is making and to mimic that. I think that's an amazing thing that we're able to do. But on to the point of all of this. You can understand why we're selfish. Stage 1 is completely predictable. And it's no surprise that under threat, when our own self-preservation is at stake, that we revert to that very basic instinct to do whatever we need to do in order to save our own lives. It's no surprise that human beings have a strong streak of selfishness in them because evolution would have put that in. We wouldn't have survived without it. What's intriguing is that powerful, innate instinct towards empathy. Evolution takes credit for empathy too. It says that we are animals that survived because we formed into families and into tribes. We had to learn to live in little societies and cooperate with one another, show and help one another. We're social animals in that sense. But think about it. Think about the possibilities that it opens up. Think about how rich and meaningful life becomes because of our ability to sense what other people are thinking and what they're feeling when we share our lives with them. And when we form relationships that aren't just about getting what we need, but that are genuinely mutual. Think when one person mentors another. Think when in your family you have some shared jokes that nobody else understands. Or think about how we put a leaflet in our bulletins when it's almost time for the offering. That gorgeous little girl. And who wouldn't want to reach into their pockets in order to see to it that she thrives in whatever it is she's wanting to be and wanting to do. That's empathy. Or reading the story on the inside about the veteran suffering from PTSD and the episode of his house getting flooded. People who try to raise money for these offerings, number one, are motivated by empathy themselves, but number two, know what it takes to hook all of us in, to make us give generously, and to feel fantastic about it. That is a really wonderful opportunity. It's one of the reasons that I rejoice in belonging to the church, because opportunities like that open before us where we can help other people. The roots for being that kind of a human being go back to the first weeks of our lives. Now, next Sunday, we will hear about adolescence, the great rebooting of our simple instincts into the convolutions that prepare us for adulthood, a tumultuous time. But today, let's simply give thanks to our Creator for these fabulous, inbuilt instincts and knowings and beings, the pleasure that we take in helping other people and having friends, which has been part of who we are since we were toddlers. Sing with me, day by day.